good morning, good morning. Going live. Susietv, the place to be this Saturday morning. Good morning, Dr. Trey. Good morning, Mama Young. How you doing? Good morning, Angela. Bring Dr. Young in right now. For Dr. Young to join in. On this beautiful Saturday morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Paula. Good morning, Dr. Young. How are you?
I can't complain. I can't complain. I'm living. I'm in the park. I'm feeling good about myself.
Yeah, it's a beautiful view out there. Sunshine on that side of
Thank
town.
you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, so glad to have you. We can either get started. We can wait a couple more minutes for some folks to join in.
You know, right now, what I'm doing right now, Susie, is I'm going to share this with followers and people that tune in.
Yes.
Give me like 2 seconds. I just think it to a few people.
You are fine.
So therefore, sometimes when I'm doing this and we are talking, then they hear that clicky noise. So I just do this right now. It takes about 2 seconds.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. This is going to be some great topics today, and I just appreciate you having me and being the opportunity to be here.
Looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be awesome, as always.
Phenomenal workout today in the TFT Fit Lab. Phenomenal.
Fit Family was on fire this morning. They came in ready.
Fire.
Hey, Allie. Good morning, Allie. Well, we can go ahead and get started, Dr. Young. People are still joining in. It's a great Saturday, everybody. It's been a wonderful weekend thus far, and I'm very excited about today in this conversation with Dr. Young, we're going to get his perspective because, Dr. Young is a single parent. He has a son. I believe Nigel is now 21.
21.
Yes. Dr. Young's perspective on being a single parent, and we're going to be going over some conversations regarding the conversations I had with Shakira Kennedy last Saturday with single moms, and then the conversation 2 weeks ago with Jessica Jefferson talking about kids raping kids. So, Dr. Young, whenever get started, however you want to open, the floor is yours. Go right ahead.
Appreciate it. Thank you for that great introduction. I am Dr. Trey, and man, your topics from Jessica to Shakira, they kind of they resonated with me on so many levels. First of all, I am from a single mom family.
Yes.
That raised 3 children on their own. My dad was still involved, so he was still there. He wasn't, an absentee dad, but he was not living in the house. And, the burden of that my mom had, though, with taking care of, 3 kids, man, was phenomenal. I mean, holding down, different jobs before she became, a practitioner in the hospital. It was tough. I mean, we had to go without on so many levels, and there weren't too many resources at that time that were, there to help my mom, to uplift her and to help our situation. And if it wasn't for her courage and her determination and just her purpose on being a mother, I don't know if he would have, made it. Back in those times, we did have some support from, our grandparents that were still grandparents. Today's grandparents, I hate to say that, they're not really grandparents. You know what I mean? You know, you ain't walking in the house and cookies being made and cakes exactly. So, there was some level of that help, you know, going on. But there was one thing that you and Shakira was talking about, generational. You know what I mean? That, you know, some of these things are, you know, are they being learned? Are they being taught? You know, have we, you know, broken, you know, some of those learnings or tried to unlearn these things? And at that time, I don't think that we have. And I think even to today, you know, some of these principles are still going on.
Right.
And that's one thing I feel that, you know, especially with Shakira's movement, is that I think her organization Solo can start to address some of those things. Okay. You know, single mothers, they do need, you know, the utmost support is what they need. And they need a way to be productive, not only in the household, but outside the household. And you know, having 3 kids, you know, when I'm, you know, parenting my son, you know, when he was younger, which is 1. So I was like, I would be, you know, pulling my hair out, even though I didn't have long hair at that time. I'd be like, goodness, like I couldn't imagine having 2 more, you know, or, you know, to have to, you know, fend for, to defend for, and to learn and to teach. So, you know, I applaud all single mothers who have been able to do this and who have done it, you know, without the utmost support. Right. And organizations like Solo, I can only see doing great things. Yes. You know, for that movement and more. You know, I can see it and more. I mean, it may start in that one arena, but I can see it, you know, branching out into more arenas. Yes. I know you and your perspective that, you know, you were a single mother as well. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I don't think we really heard your perspective, but what was your perspective? You know, my mom had 3 kids. You know, what was your perspective? You know, you having 1 son.
Being the parent of 1, it was, you know, it still felt like I had 5. because I mean, it doesn't matter if you have 1, if you have 3, you're still a single parent, right? And everything falls back on me. And like I said, going from, you know, having an income, another person's income, and then somebody's, you know, income been taken away, and now there it is. You got to fend for more. You know, you still got to fend for that individual. And so I don't know. I kind of like overcompensated because I took on a second job because I wasn't sure of how to budget, how to take care of finances the correct way, and I had to learn. And so I took on a second job. And once I took on that second job, and then I started having to leave my son with my brother and his family, and probably wasn't the best situation there with that, you know, leaving him there. But that's what I did, what I had to do until I had to figure it out on how to budget. I had to learn, you know, learning on my own how to budget, and that's what I started doing. So I gave up the second job, and I said, I just got to figure this out because it was, you know, getting home, working because I worked in retail. So I had to work this, you know, second shift. So I went in right after I got off from work at 5, and my hours were from like 5, from 6 until closing. And sometimes closing wasn't until the last customer left. You would think the stores close at 9 or 10, but you don't leave until that last customer is out the door. And that causes overtime, which overtime was good, but it's not overtime. Overtime on my body wasn't good, you know, because I had to go home. You know, make sure my son had eaten, because I'm not, you know, sometimes my brother and his family weren't the best at checking his homework. Sometimes they were, and so I had to go home, check the book bag, and check, you know, make sure he did the homework, make sure there were no notes from the teachers that I had to sign. I needed some things I needed to be aware. So by the time we got home and got him to bed, sometimes it was 11 o'clock, and that wasn't the best situation for a child. So I had to remedy some things, and I did. So I gave up the part-time job and just kind of figured it out with the 1 income, and you know, and I can't say enough. I've just been blessed. I've just really been blessed, and then started increasing in my job and started taking on other opportunities within my job, and it's just been a, you know, blessed opportunity to raise my son. So yeah, that was my perspective. It was still tough, but we made it work.
And I recall that. See, my mom, she had about 2 to 3 jobs. I remember she worked at the grocery store. She actually worked at Value City. And my grandmother, her mom, actually owned bars. So you think about in the early 70s, late 60s, my grandmother was an entrepreneur, you know what I mean? And a lot of her daughters actually worked in the bar at nighttime. And we didn't have anyone watching us. I mean, I hate to say this, but we were at home. My brother wasn't even in school at that time. I recall where we were living. I was just in kindergarten. So, my sister was only 3 years older than me. Wow. So you think about this, it was, we were in a situation where, we had to raise ourselves sometime, and me being the middle child, I made a commitment to never be a burden to my mom. And that means that, when I was outside the house, when I was, needed, shoes for basketball or different things, from 8th grade on, I never asked my mom to buy these things for me. I saved my money. I did, part-time jobs. If I got something for, Christmas, that was money, I would just save it and get it myself. And because I know my mom was, struggling just to, keep food on the table for us. I remember, me and my sister, we were talking about one of our meals when we were younger, and one meal was popcorn and chicken noodle soup. That was like we had that was our meal, popcorn and chicken noodle soup. That was the meal of the day.
Sounds good to me.
But it's like. Look at my mom right there. Yeah, it was. But I'm gonna air some laundry out today, so you might want to turn it off and watch the tape, watch the replay. But no, my mom did a hell of a job, for what we had, and us, having that support system, us, my sister Marlo, my brother Bronson, we did our best to be raised in that system. I think we turned out very well, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't stress, on my mom that we didn't know about. It's kind of hard for a kid to understand. We didn't know, the different levels that my mom was going through, and until you start to, to witness these things and start to understand that, mom is, not necessarily angry at us. She's angry because of all the stress that she has to do outside the house. And then when she comes home and, what happens is, we're made to be doing things that kids do, but the microscope is on it. I had to check myself, being a chiropractor and running a business, and my son came to live with me. And I would come home and, maybe his bed wasn't made. Maybe some dishes were in the sink. But it wasn't like life-threatening things. And I would have an attitude. My energy would be off. And I would get on him. But it wasn't that I was upset at him. I was upset because I had a long day. I had a long day, worrying about everybody else and giving my energy there. When I come home, you kind of want things to be perfect. And there's no such thing as that. You know what I mean? So I had to check myself to be like, look, as soon as I walked through this door, whatever that was going on that got me into this energy, that no longer exists.
Right.
And I do that both ways. I do that even in, in my practice in the TFT Fit Lab. Whatever is happening in my regular life, once I get inside, what happens is I don't bring that in there. Ever do I ever bring that in? Right. Ever do I do. I got to separate the two. And some people, sometimes they don't have the ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Samantha has a question. She goes, how can she help her mom that is raising her by herself? Because I don't like to see my mom stressed out because she's going through a lot. So how can I help her?
I'll take the floor on that. Samantha, what your mom wants from you is for you to be the best Samantha that you can be. And, sometimes there's external stress that tries to control who we are. And we're not saying that doesn't exist. It does. But that doesn't breed life into your body. It doesn't take life away unless you give it power to.
Right.
And then we always talk about that, Samantha, is that, only what we give things power to can it have control inside of our life. And Samantha, I see adults giving power to things outside their lives. So don't think that this is I'm a child situation or I'm a teenager situation. No, I see adults that are 40 plus that haven't really rectified that situation. So, what can you do for your mom is, same thing I, wanted for my son. Just, have the house clean when she comes home. Have the dishes done. When your mom asks you to do something, do it with energy and conviction. Mom, thank you for asking me to do this. I'm gonna go get it done without having that, what we say back talk. Like you go through life, giving our elders back talk sometimes that are only asking you to do these things for the benefit of yourself. They have some experiences that you don't have, that you haven't had at this time.
Right.
And it takes some maturity to understand when someone is trying to lead you down a path that maybe they walked that path before.
Exactly.
So now, it would be good for you to listen to your mom, because one thing that I would hate is that, if your mom or, your dad or whomever, someone that you love was taken away from you, you would start to appreciate those things that they were saying because maybe you have grown up and understand it, but now they're gone. My dad passed when I was, I believe, 26 years old or so, 26, 27. So, I didn't have my dad, or I don't have my dad as a professional, as an adult. I was still learning, even at 26, 27, I was still learning, who I was. And I would love to have my dad to be able to talk to him, to have a better understanding of who I am, based on some of the experiences that I didn't understand when I was young.
Right.
So I would say, just appreciate your mom. Tell her thank you for, the things that she provides for you and, the things that she goes out of her way. I mean, there is no parent, Samantha, that has been so dedicated to their child like your mom. She brings you to the TFT Fit Lab, have made, your family a part of our family, and she is religious to do it. And I'm not just talking about when it's convenient for her. She does it at the 5 a.m. hour. She does it on the weekends. She does it when y'all got to go to church during the week and still get, come to the lab on the Sundays.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a phenomenal commitment. And what you can do is meet her halfway.
And it's not
meet her halfway.
Bringing you to TFT is not free, Samantha. Your mom is a financial obligation because she wants to. She knows that you enjoy coming and being around the TFT family. She's doing this because she wants to do it, because she loves you, Samantha. And then think about this too, Samantha. Your mom is an educator. She is with students all day, 5 days a week. Your mom is with students, and she's up talking to students. And some of the students are disrespectful, and I'm sure that's a burden on her. She doesn't enjoy being disrespected, and then she has to come home. She doesn't want to be disrespected by you. So just do your best, Samantha, just to be good to your mom. Just be good to your mom every opportunity that you get. And like Dr. Trey says, when she asks you to do something, do it. And then go overboard and do it. Do it with joy. Do it with happiness. Do it with a smile. Don't slam things down. Don't slam the door. Don't slam the trash can. Just do it with joy. That's all I have to say. Do it with joy. And that's going to be very good for your mom and for you as well. Yes.
Yeah. And Samantha, this is not, we appreciate, your interaction with this conversation.
Yes.
You have changed, light years when you first walked through the TFT Fit Lab for what we know. So your progress has been seen, it has been shown, it is evident, you know what I mean? Just, your attitude, your energy, your level, and when you come in and you bring in joy, and we appreciate you being a part of the fam. So you are an instrumental part of everything that we do, and I just want to thank you, I want to thank you just for your progress and for your self-accountability to be the best Samantha. And I know, even me, I got to be the best Dr. Trey, and I got to be accountable for that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to make strides to get better, and we're going to get better together.
Yes, awesome. So, Dr. Trey, can we switch a little bit? I know you touched on being a single parent, of being a single father.
Okay.
What are some of the stressors, being because Shakira talked about some of the stressors for single moms, and I'm sure some of those will cross over to being a single father. I mean, she didn't touch on we touched a little bit on the legal system, but, like for most men, and a lot of men feel this way too, that when they stand before that judge, that a lot of judges are going to be what? They're going to be for the moms, not so much for the dad, what dad is asking for may not necessarily go his way. So can you talk a little bit about some of the stressors that single fathers may face?
And that's 200% correct. If the mom and dad aren't together, the mom is usually, awarded, custodial parent, even without going to court. There's not a good court process for that. What happens is that sometimes, some people aren't financially stable to be able to pay lawyers on both sides, you know what I mean, for you to go and fight for your rights.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that, me and my son's mom did was that, we were very amicable. We didn't go to court. We made a decision, that was going to be best for our son is what we did. And, sometimes, I feel that I wish I would have, had more input, but I wanted to do things that was going to be best, for Nija, at that time. But I know other fathers in different situations, they're not given that opportunity to have, that type of, togetherness and co-parenting.
Right.
And they can't afford a lawyer, what I mean? So therefore, the mom has all the power. They have the power card, with the kid. And unfortunately, some moms use the kid as a manipulating tool. I've seen it. You know what I mean? So I'm only speaking about what I've seen. I'm not saying every situation. There are outliers. Like in my situation, I would consider myself an outlier. But in other situations, there's some where, the father isn't even given the opportunity to see the kids. And even if they are, it's on the mother's terms. And there's no flexibility in there.
Right.
And what's terrible about that situation is that the kids feel it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, if you were adult enough to make a kid, you got to understand that now it's not about the mother and the father.
Mm-hmm.
All that energy has to be directed to the kid or the kids. It's no longer about you two. You guys were not, not going to co-live, but you can co-parent. And you have to find a way to do that is best beneficial for all parties. What I did not want to do, I didn't want to go to court because I didn't want someone based off of the laws. They don't know my situation, and for us to put us in this box based off of how they treat everybody else.
Right.
I said, look, we got to do this, and this is our responsibility. Nobody was with us when we made this. We made our son. No one should have the ability to tell us, how we should co-parent.
Right.
And that was just, I wouldn't say it's the risk. I think it was, the best situation at that time. That's what we did.
Yeah.
But most people, they do go to the court system.
Yes.
And then once you're in that court system and everything is on paper, the life is not on paper. Try to script your life on paper. That's impossible. So therefore, once we do all this on so-called paper, that adds more stress because there's going to be things in life where things are going to have to change. Maybe, this is, mom's weekend, but mom has a trip out of town. You see what I mean? So now the dad has to come in and say, no, I don't see why a dad would never take their son extra time or a mom ever take the kids extra time. That is your kid. You should want to spend as much time as you can, with your kid. And that's how we handle things, and it took time. It wasn't perfect starting off, but we worked on it. We worked on it as best we could. Mm-hmm. And so we never, went the court, system because let me tell you this, even if you guys can't figure out, think about the $10,000 you're going to pay that attorney on both sides.
On both sides.
That's $10,000, $20,000 you could have for your kid to give them a better life. So I said, no, I'm not paying them any money. We have to figure this out And we have to work through these growing pains.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. Work through the pains to get to a better resolution.
One of my, the guy who sits next to me at work, he has full custody, but his wife now has some share. But she walked away when the child was born because he has special needs. And she really didn't want it to be his life, so she walked away. And she was gone for probably like 4 years, and she just recently started to try to come back to get into the child's life. She's married now, has a child with the new husband, and so now she wants to be with her son. And he's been trying to, of course, trying to fight it. But then one day he just said, he woke up and just said, you know what, it's not worth it. This is not worth it. I'm going to allow her, even though she did hire an attorney, to give her privileges to see her son. So, so they work, like you, they worked through this thing so that they wouldn't have to spend, she hired an attorney. He didn't. He just decided that there's no sense in doing this, no sense in taking this money, paying an attorney. Let's just work this out as an adult, And he brought in her husband. Her husband came in, and they just all sat down and had a meeting together, and then worked it out to where she now has the son. I think like Saturday through to Tuesday, something like that. Then he has the child the rest of the week. So they just worked it out together, so they wouldn't have to take the finances away from this child. But but she walked away. She didn't want any part of him because of the burden of being a special needs kid. But now, I don't know, it was the new husband who said, yeah, you need to see your child. You need to see, help raise him. So now she's back to his life. So, yeah, but he was having a hard time with that. Yeah.
And that would be a hard time. And the one thing I when we meet people, we never know, how they got to where they are that day, you know what I mean? Like, just talking about the generational learning, and people, they don't give that enough, enough credence to do a better understanding of that. I understand that no one should want to walk away from the child because they have special needs, but what made a person arrive to that decision, and we don't know all the factors, it's one example I like to give is that, when we talk about learning and we don't know why we learn things certain ways, I want everyone that's watching this to Google it or look it up on YouTube. But popcorn, I'm talking about popcorn that we eat at movies, used to be a cereal. I mean, they used to pour milk on it. So, and a lot of people don't know that popcorn, when it first originated, you ate it as a cereal. And then it turned into a movie snack or something like that. You know what I mean? So what was that learning that taught us to say, hey, this is a cereal? And then who taught us to change that learning to now it's something that we eat at a movies? But look at the history of popcorn. Name someone that that's ever poured milk on popcorn. I don't know anyone. I never learned it that way.
Right.
I learned it to eat it this way. So some things, as a parent, we've learned some things that we didn't account for at 2 and 3. And we may have thought that was normal, and we continue to bring that into our adult life, because we didn't have a way to relearn it, okay?
Right.
So, never, judge a book, because we don't know, the pages in that book that made that book become a book. We don't know what was found in there and how it started. And the best way to do it is, I guess conversations and having better understandings to see how we get to a better resolution. There's always a better resolution into any situation.
Right.
Always.
That's true. Yeah. So then what about, I know we didn't talk about a lot with Shakira, but you can, if you want to touch on it, you can, about the opposite sex. So, bringing a person around your child from the opposite sex, like dating or just trying to be friends. And so do you think that is something that should, because, everybody has their own opinion on this topic, bringing somebody around your child?
You know what? I grew up, that way. My mom, she had dated people. As a kid, we didn't like it. You know, me and my brother, I can't account for my sister, but I know me and my brother didn't like that. You know, at that time, you know, we were a little confused. My dad never did until he was about to get married. You know what I mean? Until he got remarried and whatnot. In my situation, I never had anyone, you know, around my son to care for him, just out of respect, you know, for the mother, because it does have a level of confusion there. And because I grew up that way, I didn't want to have that confusion for my son. And you can still, you know, have a relationship or see somebody without involving your child. You know, I mean, I think the time that you spend with your child, especially at those early years, are very important, that they are hearing information from you and not from someone that may not be there later. You know what I mean? You know, and that's the key. You know what I mean? It's the same way as, you know, some parents, they were married and then they're divorced. That's a stress on a kid. So now we add somebody else that can leave a situation. Now this kid is feeling that all the time. You know what I mean? That someone will leave.
Yes.
So, you know, I would never, you know, sacrifice, you know that, with my child. That's just me. That's my personal preference. And there's nothing against you, you know, having, you know, a friendship, a relationship, whatever you want to call it, with another individual. I just don't think they should be involved with your child, you know, and unless, like I said, you know, you guys are going to get married and that's going to be the situation, then there's no way you're going to, you know, go around it. In my situation, you know, I wasn't married. I wasn't trying to get married, and I wasn't going to involve my son in anything like that.
Yeah, that's very good. That's great advice. Very good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's talk about, because your mother, amazing. I say light years. You know, some of the things that you said, your mom was light years ahead. She knew what was going on behind these closed doors with these individuals. So let's talk about that. The conversation I had with Jessica, kids raping kids, because, you know, we want to wrap this month up to get ready to go into October. So let's talk about that. Like I said, your mom was light years ahead. So,
So, Jessica's book, you know, when did we get Jessica's book? It was when I was next to State Farm. Next to State Farm. So 2016. So I think we had the book since then. And, you know, just diving into the book, it's like she mentioned so many things that I didn't know existed, you know what I mean, or that could happen. And these are like real life, you know, situations. And it's just an eye-opener. And it's what mommy doesn't know, right?
Yes, what mommy doesn't know.
Well, mommy doesn't know. If you don't have the book, please go out and get it. Get it as a gift. You know, Christmas is coming. You know, holidays is coming. You know, make it a stocking stuffer. It'll teach you things that you never knew that, you know, could happen and definitely shouldn't happen. But along those lines, you know, me and my brother and my sister, we played a lot of sports growing up. You know, my mom had us in, you know, baseball, you know, had us in football, had us in basketball, you know, ran track. My sister played volleyball. So, you know, we did things outside of the house, you know, at an early age. I mean, I think even my brother and I, we would go to Boy Scouts. We would do the church activities. And my mom, it didn't matter if we were just coming home from school, and I'm talking about kindergarten, I'm talking about Head Start, I'm talking about, you know, preschool. She would ask this one question, and one question only. Has anybody been playing with your booty? And I say this, and I say this realistically. This is what she asked us. It didn't matter if we were with relatives. It didn't matter if I was, you know, stayed at my dad's for the weekend. It didn't matter wherever I went. Has anybody been playing with your booty? And, you know, as a 3-year-old, 4, 5, 6-year-old, you don't really understand what your mom is saying. You know what I mean? You know, she's asking you a question. But this went on to past 18. You understand it now. Me and my brother are having conversations like, look, why is mom tripping? You know what I mean? Like, why does she continue to ask us this? You know, like when she would ask me now, like, you know, from 16 on, my skin used to itch. I was like, Ma, no. And I would ask her, I would answer her that way. You know what I mean? Not in a disrespectful way, but I have heard this my whole life. My mom was light years on what can happen to your child when you're not around. Mm-hmm. And she was very direct to ask us. She didn't sugarcoat it. She says, anyone been playing with your booty? You know what I mean? Which was, you know, and she was consistent in what she said. And it never changed. And I thank her for this. Even though it never happened, I thank her for, you know, having the courage to say that. And Mom, if you're listening to this, I don't know where you learned that from. I don't know if you had an experience. I don't know if someone taught you. I do not know. But, you know, I do thank you for, you know, valuing us when we were not in your sight. Because there was times that we had to be. And if you didn't, you know, ask those certain questions and certain happened, we would continue to live that nightmare. You know what I mean? But you were so open to people always say, you know, how am I going to have to talk about sex, you know, to my child? You need to. Yeah. You know, you need to have it. If not, some other kid is going to have it, or some other adult's going to get a chance to have it. It needs to come from you. Yes. You know what I mean? You know, and it's your responsibility, because the things that we don't address in that kid's, you know, adolescent, you know, childhood, pre-puberty, you know, type of life, then when they get to an adult, if that thing has not been answered, they're going to continue to live as an adult in the same manner. Right. But it started with you not being the professor in your child's life. You have to be the professor. Yes. You know, you brought this child in the world, so you got to be the teacher, the educator, to make sure that this child becomes a sound adult. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, you can do the best job that you can do, and your children are going to make the choice on who they are. So you have to be able to sleep at night to say, you know, what did I do to better equip my child to take on what life has to offer. Okay. And if you've done your best, then everything's okay. Your child's still going to make the ultimate decision, but you got to make sure that some of these nightmares that could have been prevented was on your watch. Right. Let's put it that way. It was on your watch, and it's not the tear parents down. It's more of to say, let's have more of a watchful eye, because, you know, now that your kids may have grown up, you're going to have grandkids. Someone is going to have to say the real to the grandkid. You know what I mean? Because, you know, maybe you missed a couple of things, but if you know better now, do better. Yes. You know better, you got to do better. So true. If you want to, my mom doesn't have a copyright on that, or a patent, or whatever you want to say, but just ask your child if somebody been playing with it. It works for our family. You know, it worked for our family. It was very direct, and as a kid, they'll get to understand what that means. Yeah, and you still remember it. It's still an emotion attached to that. I can feel it. You know, when you say that, I can feel the emotion attached to it. So you're right. You got to have those conversations. You got some people out here. Steph said, as a parent, thank you. Feels the best coming from my kids. That's Steph. That's Journey's dad. Okay. You know, Lift Heavy Girl. Lift Heavy Girl says, you know, yes, Samantha, pushing hard in class. Great job. Anissa, thank you for the story. Delta Girl, true, but some situations require court order schedule because one of both parties. Yeah, we understand that. We understand that every situation is not amicable, and that's what I mentioned. And what happens in those situations is that it becomes a financial burden on both parties. But we do understand that, you know, there are outliers that it's not going to happen in every situation. And so I do understand that with Delta Girl. Yeah. And your mom said the reason she knows this is because as a child, she used to hear adults talking. So
That's how she knows this kind of stuff is going
I never
on.
knew I never knew I never knew where it came from. I just appreciate that, you had the courage to instill that in us. So for us to know, it didn't make us feel uncomfortable. It made us feel 100% uncomfortable. I was like, me and Bronson, we laugh about it. I'm probably gonna call him after this and be like, man, watch Susietv. We get a chance to talk about mom a little bit, and that helped us and me become a better adult. Just knowing that my mom, took the time to ask me those type of questions. Very, very tough. I know that wasn't easy on her, so I applaud her for that.
Yeah. So did you have a conversation like that with Nigel? I mean, I'm sure you probably were watching, looking, making, being careful who he was around. Even with people that you still don't know. You think you know,
Right.
You think your child may be safe with this person, but you still don't know.
Right. You know what? I didn't use that particular phrase as frequently. I may have used it maybe once or twice, but when it came to Nigel, there was no sleepovers. When he was in my care, and not in my house or not even him going elsewhere. So I just made sure that he was in my sight, or with my mom. With my brother, things like that, even my sister, and we just tried to be as best as we could. When he came home from different practices, I would ask him different things, you know what I mean, to make sure we got to the bottom of if anything was going on, and to my knowledge, nothing ever was. And that's the biggest thing, I always got to say, to my knowledge,
Right.
because sometimes even a kid may not be able to understand what was going on until later. And
Or you got
that
that person telling them that this is our secret. This is our secret.
Yes.
This is what we do. And it's okay for us to do this because this is our secret. We don't share this with anybody.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So a friend of mine, this is true story. A friend of mine saw I sent your last 2 episodes to them, and she called me in tears. She had shared a story with me some years ago, and she kind of wanted me to, I told her I was going on, and she given me the permission to tell her story. So as a kid, I think that she probably was around probably about 10 or 11. And she used to have some vaginal situations to where her mom had to take her to the doctor. And starting out the first year, this kept happening, and now the girl's 13. But when she was 10 or 11, the mom would go into the room with the doctor, and the doctor would check her, and everything was be appropriate. And and then things would clear up, and her daughter would be fine. And then now the daughter is 13, 14, and the mom is taking her to the same doctor. Okay, so taking her to the same doctor, and now the mom stays in the waiting room. You know what I mean? Because she's known this doctor for 2 years, and she's kind of trusting this doctor to give her daughter the adequate treatment, because it has been nothing different than before. And the whole time, probably from 13 to probably about 16 or 17 years old, the doctor was actually penetrating her with his fingers, and was when he would check her, it was very inappropriate. He would put a file in the door. So he put a file in the door, shut the door, so if someone came in like his assistants, he would hear the file fall. So this whole time, because his mother, gave this doctor the power to continue to, treat her, her daughter, and she wasn't going in the room from 13 on. And, the girl ended up, becoming from high school to a college student. And this impacted her life till today. And it's very unfortunate. Nothing ever happened to the doctor, because the doctor was older and he ended up dying. So there was nothing for them to take them to court or get any type of justice, which there is no justice in that situation. There's not amount of money that can be, given. But, even with a doctor, you need to be back there with your child. You know what I mean? And 13 doesn't make them an adult to be able to understand, what's going on and what's appropriate care. Even if you sit in the corner, and I'm talking about mothers that have sons, just sit in the corner, because, even if you're not totally looking, that doctor feels your presence there. And I am a practitioner. So therefore, they are going to be in the right frame of mind and giving your child the right treatment.
Yes.
And so
if he was doing it to her, how many others was he doing this to? And got away with?
Yeah.
And that's what I appreciate about
like my
you.
mom's.
When I see you with kids, that you're just there's no clothing coming off, but you're back there with the children, and you always call their mom back. Come on back, mom. Come on back, mom. It's not you. I mean, I appreciate about that. I've always respected that about you from day one. The first time I met you and I saw you adjusting a child, I just thought, wow, there's no clothing coming off. Why? But you always call for the parent to come back and be right there with the child as you're adjusting.
Yeah, I never want anything to be misconstrued because, even a child doesn't know why a doctor has to touch them in certain areas. But a parent does. So therefore, whatever they come in for, I want to say, well, look, you told me such and such, and this had this, and this started to blah, 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 this. So therefore, I want to say this is necessary. And then I show the parent where I'm touching, and I put their hand there is what I do. So therefore, the child becomes more comfortable that, my mom, my dad actually touched that area as well. So therefore, we know how to better evaluate it. So therefore, it can be confusing. It could be confusing, and even when I went to my first chiropractor, there were certain things my coaches were taking me to my first chiropractor, and it wasn't my parent, it wasn't my mom or my dad. And there were certain things that, had to be done on me that I'd never been to a chiropractor before that I didn't understand. But he was very good in telling my coaches and to explaining to me, what needed to happen. And he was so good that some of the things that needed to happen to me, he taught my coaches how to do. So therefore, I knew that it was something very valid. And a lot of doctors, again, they don't take the time to make sure that, everyone's comfortable. And that includes, the child, the parent, and so forth and so forth. Everyone needs to be comfortable.
Yes, that's good. Ooh, this has been very, very good, Dr. Young. I appreciate it. I know you got a busy Saturday ahead of you. You've been busy all week. And
yes.
I appreciate you taking time out just to come on and just give us this valid, very, very good, rich information. That's right. Leave no room to be accused. That's true, Mama Young. Leave no room to be accused. That's good. But so this has been very good. I appreciate you again. This has been really good. Really good. Adding on to Shakira and Jessica, not taking anything away, not trying to overshadow what they said, but just adding to what they said. So this has been really good. And then giving your perspective on being, a single father, what that has been like. And great advice given there with you and his mom working things out together instead of allowing a judgment, a judge or, to come across, our lawyers working together, charging you buku dollars. No, you decide to work it out together. And I like that, to work together, figure this out. Yeah.
Let me tell you, Susie, what you're doing, I don't care if we had a half a person tune in to any of your episodes, you are, giving topics of purpose, real topics that people don't want to touch. They don't want to touch some of these topics. Yes, you have the energetic ones, the ones that we're jumping around and we're dancing. But then we have the ones that, hey, could I have been better? Oh, I didn't see this. Oh, I didn't know that happened. Oh, that happened to me. The lady that reached out to me, I haven't talked to her probably 15 years or something like that. It was a long time. But she happened to see your show, and I remember her telling me something like this, but it was never to that detail.
Right.
So you brought some detail out of an individual who is now an adult being able to like shed some of this, you know what I mean? Shed it off of her, and she just wanted people to know that, even doctors, you can't trust anyone.
Right.
To be honest with you, you can't trust anyone, and you just have to question people's motives. And what Jessica, mentioned was even some of these kids that become adults, they learn some of these principles, as kids. So therefore, no one ever, changed their learning or had them rethink. Mm-hmm. So, what made that, that one individual become who they are? They probably had some experiences,
yes.
That they didn't ask to have. So therefore, they may have taken some of those things as being normal, mm-hmm. because they thought the person that was doing it to them was normal. Think
yes.
about, Catholic priests, not to attack anyone's religion or whatnot, but it happens in all religions. But, you don't think you can trust your Catholic priest?
Your pastor.
You understand? Yes. Your pastor? Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
and as a kid, if you're experiencing that, that's the one that's, that's very revered, and now they're confused.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest with you. Now they're going to grow up as an adult and be confused because, certain things happen that they didn't ask for that to happen. So, we can't just judge them because they learned something that they didn't know was good or bad. They just didn't know. So, anyways, yes. But so I appreciate this.
No problem.
This makes me a better individual every time.
Yeah, good.
And I appreciate you letting me go, virtual today. I know you wanted me in the studio, and I apologize I couldn't be there.
That's okay.
But next time I will be in the studio.
Right. Well, listen, this wraps up September. Guys, October is Women's Month, and I have some things lined up for you. Starting with next Saturday, guess who's going to be on? Mama Young. Mama Young is back in the building. Well, not in the building, but she'll be back on the air with me next Saturday. So we're going to be talking about a lot of things. I texted her yesterday, and I said, these are some of the things we can talk about. So get ready for Mama Young next Saturday. And then I have Dr. Portia Bell. Dr. Bell is a dentist, and she's going to be talking about some preventive care and diseases that are affecting, ladies, men, everybody, affecting our, like, heart disease and diabetes. If you don't take care of your teeth and your gums, what could happen to our bodies? So she's going to be good. You want to tune in for that. And then I have my great niece, Amaya Turner Woodley. She's going to be on talking about her father a couple of years ago took his own life. So we're going to be talking about mental health, and we're going to be talking about depression and just some of the ramifications that she went through after losing her dad, and what she's doing now for healing. So this is going to be, she's on fire. She's doing a lot of things. In fact, today there's a race that she's doing down in Charlotte for suicide prevention. So she's doing amazing things, and she's healing. She had to get counseling, she and her brother, and so she's going to be raw. She's going to tell you the truth. Some of the things that he went through that were just ignored, and some of the things that that they saw, and then after his passing, this thing that they went through, and now they're healing. So it's going to be good. So I just advise you to stay tuned. I'm not going to tell you what day, who's going to be on just yet, what day, but it's coming. And then I got another one coming. Hopefully, I'm hoping it be solidified this week. Sex trafficking, human trafficking. This is going to be a good one too. And hopefully, I'll hear back. Hopefully, early part of next week. And this lady's just gonna be awesome. So I got some things lined up for you for October. So get ready. But again, starting next Saturday with Mama Young. So tune in, Susietv, as we always say. Go ahead.
Hey, tell my mama I'm alive, yo. Tell my mama I'm alive as well. And I'm doing inside joke. Got him.
Inside joke. That's right. So anyway, you guys go out and make it the best Saturday you've ever had, and I will see you back. Susietv is always the place to be. We'll see you next Saturday. Have a good one. All right. Bye-bye.